Is over on the other side. This meeting of the Board of Trustees, our regular meeting of Tuesday, March 13th, 2018. Will the clerk please call the roll? Here.
Absent. Katie Simon Holland.
Here.
Scott Kelly.
Here.
John Mayer. Melina Raymond.
Here.
And Dr. Taylor.
I'm here.
And our student representative is probably taking a test.
Yes.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'd like to ask our former trustee, Lisa Ruggiero, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Ms. Ruggiero.
Thank you.
Ms. Batchelder, do we have public comment?
We do. John Eppolito.
Mr. Eppolito, welcome.
Thank you. My name is John Eppolito. I am a parent with 3 kids in the district. 1 already graduated. I'm a former K-12 teacher, and I'm the president of Protect Nevada Children. Wanted to speak for just a minute about Infinite Campus and SANE, the System of Accountability Information for Nevada. Infinite Campus is the third-party vendor every school district in the state of Nevada pays to collect and store an incredible amount of information on all students, including discipline and psychological data. The most sensitive, subjective, and harmful data to children is stored in the secret Infinite Campus tabs that are not visible to parents via their Infinite Campus portal. In addition, Infinite Campus uploads the most sensitive and problematic student data from every student in the state nightly to the Nevada Department of Education's SANE system. Student data stored in Infinite Campus and SANE is never deleted. I think that's insane. It's my understanding that until the last school board meeting, most board members did not know Infinite Campus data is never deleted. Most parents still don't know. The first question we have is, now that you know, will you do anything to educate parents? Every Washoe County School District official and employee I've spoken to about this has told me they have checked their own children's secret Infinite Campus data. They all seem more concerned about protecting their own children than educating district parents about what's happening. Even if there's never another data breach, there's already been numerous Infinite Campus data breaches, by the way. Even if there's never one affecting Washoe County and or the Nevada children, Protect Nevada Children has a couple questions for you. 1, why are the tabs hidden from parents? 2, why isn't the data ever deleted? 3, why aren't parents even notified that these secret tabs exist? 4, since the tabs are hidden, why aren't parents invited to come in and view what will be stored forever in their children's secret tabs? And the last question, do you think most parents would approve of the district paying a third-party vendor to collect and store secret, subjective, and discipline data on their children that is never deleted? It is up to you trustees to protect the 64,000 children of the district. The people making $150,000 a year plus on staff are not going to do it. It's your responsibility. I'm begging you, please do what's right and help us protect Nevada children, educate parents on what's happening in regard to this insane student data collection and storage that's happening in the district and in our state. Thank you. You're welcome.
William Tarbell.
Welcome, Mr. Tarbell. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Dr. William Tarbell, and all I want to do is sort of piggyback on John's comments. I've heard over the years plenty of complaints from parents that they are not invited to fully cooperate with and be involved in the educational process of their children. I've also heard complaints from teachers and others that parents just aren't around. They don't come when invited and so forth to take part in opportunities for them to cooperate. Infinite Campus is a perfect example of how exiled parents can find themselves to be. It seems like a betrayal of the principle that the primary caregivers are parents who are supposed to be involved in raising and teaching their children at all times except when they happen to be in school. I simply want to emphasize that the principle that all of us, at least most of the people I know, have toward education is that it's the parents' task first to be assisted by the schools. The children that are students in this district belong to the parents and other caregivers, and the school district is invited to assist them, not the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tarbell.
Darla Lee.
Welcome, Ms. Lee. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I won't be that long. I'm also here concerned about the what the last two speakers have been talking about. But my main concern is that I keep hearing that the school board is very concerned about transparency. I'm hearing that a lot on the radio and that its actions are transparent, but there doesn't appear to be a great deal of transparency in regard to the student data collection. And if I'm correct in what I've read, this data that's very sensitive and can be both discipline and psychological data is being stored, and the parents are not being given an opportunity to see what's in these files. So I don't call that transparent. And I think it behooves the board to really look into this to a greater extent to see that parents are well informed, that they know what kind of data is being stored, why it's being stored, and if there are breaches in this information, then the student privacy is being violated as well. So these are questions that every parent has a right to know, and I believe that's real transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Pablo Nova Duran.
Good afternoon, Mr. Duran.
Good. I'd like to say about naming a new middle school in Sun Valley. So I do remember last time, and new middle school in Spanish Spring, you named Skywedge Middle School beside Michael Landberry Middle School. So I think Skywedge Middle School is a good example for geographic location. I think a new middle school in Sun Valley should have a geographical location. My first choice is Sun Valley Middle School because Sun Valley have a own town. It should name Sun Valley Middle School. If you don't like it, maybe Desert Sky Middle School, very preferred example. And the third one, I don't think Michael Landberry should not be named a new middle school in Sun Valley, but it should be named for example, a new med school, new elementary school in Spanish Spring area, naming Michael Landberry Elementary School, next to Skywedge Middle School. And I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duran.
All right, thank you.
Jeff Church.
Good afternoon, Mr. Church. You know you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Church. I run two websites, renotaxrevolt.com and renopublicsafety.org. I invite you to take a look. I'm proud to say that just yesterday I filed for running for the Board of Trustees for the Washoe County School District, District F at large, so I look forward to working with the new board. I do want to bring to your attention that with the passage of WC1, the tax increase, we were promised oversight. And there is, in fact, a Nevada revised statute mandated committee called the Oversight Committee, which is supposed to overlook, again, this spending and this bonding. In checking the minutes of that Oversight Committee, they have not met since 2016. They have not met at all in 2017. Not every quarter like they're supposed to. They have not met. As of the last time I checked, there are no meetings scheduled. Now, I did complain, so maybe in the last few days they got something up. I do draw to your attention that on the 28th of this month, the Capital Projects Committee will meet, and I urge you to urge them to be fiscally conservative with how our taxpayer money is spent. Now, a little bit about me. I'm retired from the Reno Police Department as a supervisor, and I'm also proud to be retired from the United States Air Force as a commissioned officer, serving in the intelligence field. I have 2 college degrees, one with honors, and because of my law enforcement background and my military intelligence background, student safety is number one. There's nothing more important than the safety of our students. So that's going to be the number one priority, and I hope to even attend some of the state new committee school safety meetings and maybe even be able to speak there. Number 2, though, I think those of you that know me, fiscal responsibility. We have to get our house in order. We have to get the deficit decreased down to 0. We need to be responsible in our spending. And of course, one of my main areas as a watchdog is the WC1 money for school building that's out of control. And the third thing, and I used to write, my editor said, never use this term, think outside the box. We do need to think outside the box to come up with innovative ideas on how best to educate our students. I'm considered a national expert in the area of recruiting. I've taught nationwide. I've taught twice to the Clark County, Las Vegas school district, so I must be doing something right that they had me back twice. And I'm an expert on recruiting, and we need to recruit the best teachers possible. Think outside the box. There's lots of things. Many of the recruiting efforts that I see nationwide are stuck on 2009. They do it the same old way. And one of the things I teach is if the rules are broken, change the rules. The second thing I teach is expedite the hiring process. When you got good teachers, you got to grab them quickly so somebody else doesn't. And I have basically my 10 golden rules of recruiting, which once I'm on the board, I'll be happy to chat about, or maybe at future meetings. So thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here. And again, Jeff Church for School District F at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Church.
Lisa Ruggiero.
Good afternoon, former trustee Ruggiero.
Good afternoon, President Holland. For the record, former trustee Ruggiero, and I'm here as the chairwoman of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission. Vice President Raymond, Superintendent Davis, trustees, legal counsel, and chief of police. I'm honored to be here. I wanted to express my deep appreciation to you, the trustees, and to you, Superintendent Davis, because last week we were able to send 200 staff members to the National Bullying Conference, and we would not have been able to do that without your commitment and support to mental health in our school district. And I can tell you the response from our staff members has been tremendous. When I walked out of the conference, I walked by a school counselor and I said, "What are you doing? What are you organizing?" He had 18 pages of notes. He said it was some of the best learning that he's had in a long time. So thank you. Thank you for that. And so with that said, I want to talk a little bit about inviting you on April 27th to our school safety forum, which will be held at TMCC. We're hoping, the commission is hoping, and our communications team is hoping, and I believe Superintendent Davis is hoping that you all will play a key role in that forum. And so communications will be reaching out to you soon, but I think it will be April 27th, 1 o'clock at TMCC. So we'll be getting you information, but I'm here to personally invite you and express how thrilled we are to have you part of this event. So you'll be hearing more to come. I've talked to Trustee Kelly a little bit about it. So, and then I want to give my personal thank you to Superintendent Davis for your good work yesterday. I had lots of spies spying on that meeting with the governor, and I want to express my sincerest appreciation on behalf of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission for your focus on 4 items that we are very focused on, and that's the CCTVs, that's middle school police officers, our visitor management program, and also mental health. I heard you were a wonderful voice in sharing that information with our governor. And I believe this work that Governor Sandoval is leading will save lives in our state. And I am so grateful to you for your advocacy and representation of these important projects for the school district. So thank you very much. Oh my gosh. And I hope to talk to you all about the budget, because I see there's a little cut for the commission, but I'm hoping with some conversations we might be able to have a little bit more leeway in that. So thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for your service as the chair of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission. And I really want to acknowledge you publicly, because you really put this school district on the map with school safety, and we're very grateful for that. We know that in many ways this district is ahead of the curve because of your good work, Lisa, so thank you.
Elise Weatherly.
Good afternoon, Ms. Weatherly.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for listening. What I realized today is that we need ears that will hear, right? We not only need to speak, but we need to be heard. So it's all about communications. And everything that I heard back here, I'm not even sure why I'm here. I think I'm here because I have had experiences with school. Both of my parents were teachers. I had the worst experiences in school anybody imaginable. I was one of those smart little geeky kids, right, that got picked on and beat up and all that kind of stuff. But if we had, it all depends on this data. I'm not worried about data, really. What I'm worried about more than anything is the interpretation of that data, because we all have everything we've ever done is written in the books, right? We know that. We know it's going to be reviewed at some point, but people might call me crazy for thinking that. So from a mental health standpoint, I might be considered crazy. So my question is, who's going to take all this data and interpret it and decide if these kids are okay or not? Right? What I would love to see in the school district, because I see some things going on here that I like. We went to an ACE presentation for high school the other day. Mr. Kindly put on a presentation. It was good. What I noticed is that these guys are targeting certain people with certain skills, grouping them together. And what we have now is a government that it's a one-shoe-fit-all kind of government, right? And it doesn't work because everybody's a little bit different. And just because I'm different than you doesn't mean I'm crazy. You know, we just belong in a different group maybe. And so what I'm going to ask is to please just consider maybe hiring somebody to actually meet the kids, find out who they are, find out how they fit, and put them in with the group that they belong with. My grandson would be in his own separate group. It would be called the group of the brilliant geeks, okay? There's a few of them out there. There's other kids that are part of sports. There are some that are going to be taking welding, all these different things. So for all these years, we've had a school system that tries to fit everybody with everything, and it doesn't work. All right, by the way, I got a D in penmanship, okay? I got straight A's and everything else, but I got a D in penmanship. So all I'm going to ask you guys, if you please, I don't know what the best way is to get together and listen about this, because the schools are hard on these kids. They're hard. They come home depressed. They come home scared. They don't want to ride the bus because they get picked on. It's a big deal to get, insulted and stuff is a big deal. The other thing, too, is just to let you know a little history. I'm a musician. I'm an accountant. I work on IT. I was the director of the payroll at the El Dorado. I've got 4 CDs. I've been in bands. I do music locally. So I like math-based things. And sometimes even faith is math-based, right? Why? Because it makes sense, right? So thanks, you guys, for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Weatherly. And I did respond to your email earlier today.
Oh, thank you.
David Clark.
Welcome, Mr. Clark. You have 3 minutes.
Hey, how are you? Hi. Members of the board, Superintendent Davis, Chief, Mr. Mayor, how are you? Good to see you. I'm here to advocate to have the new middle school named after Mike Lansbury. I served with Mike in the Nevada Air Guard for I think 12 years. I'm a colonel in the Nevada Air Guard. I'm the former vice wing commander of the 152nd Airlift Wing. I currently serve as the director of strategic plans and programming for the Nevada Air National Guard. Most importantly, however, I am a 21-year teacher. I teach social studies at Sparks Middle School, which, for a little trivia, the only middle school named after a city is Sparks Middle School in our area. It seems like the high schools have been named after the areas. Desert Skies is gorgeous. That'd be a gorgeous name for a new high school. Sure, we'll have some. But middle schools, the last couple of middle schools, Yvonne Shaw, Kendall DePoli, have been named after outstanding educators. Michael Lansbury fits that to a T. I taught next door to Mike for 10 years. Our rooms adjoined. I was present on the day he was killed at Sparks Middle School. It was a very scary day. He was not only an outstanding educator, got along great with the kids, related very well with the kids, left law enforcement and became an educator so that he could reach these kids at a younger age before he saw them later on in life as a law enforcement officer. I don't think any school in the district who's named after an individual has had a brilliant educator, but someone brave enough on that very terrifying day to walk into the breach and lay his life down for his students. I'm speaking today on behalf of myself, speaking today on behalf of the Nevada Air National Guard for my commanders. We would greatly appreciate if you would consider this outstanding honor for Mike to name a new middle school after him. I think he'd be dumbfounded by it, honestly. I already know what he'd say. He'd say no, 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 but I'm saying yes for him. And I already see it, black and yellow, colors of Batman, the Lansbury Lions, the Lansbury Lightning, something like that. I think it would make the entire community very proud of someone who was very brave. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
That's all I have at this time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Batchelder. Okay, we will move on with action to adopt the agenda. Does anyone have a motion to adopt the agenda? Let me advise you that consent agenda item 2.21, which is the approval of the Coral Academy Charter School request to expand to provide elementary school services, is being pulled from the agenda at the request of the Coral Academy Charter School. Their deal didn't work out, so they are not moving forward with that at this time. Does anyone have a motion to approve the agenda as revised? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Dr. Taylor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 2.01 is approval of consent agenda items 2.02 through 2.27 with the exclusion of 2.21. Are there any questions? And, of course, responses to questions from the trustees have been posted with the meeting materials and available to the community. Are there any questions or discussion on any of the consent agenda items? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 2.02 through 2.20 and 2.22 through 2.27?
So move.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. All right, thank you, Vice President Raymond, second by Vice President Raymond. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Trustee Kelly, I know you and I had talked about a request you had to potentially move an item up on the agenda, and I said we would talk about that with everybody.
Yes, Madam President. I was just thinking that with the interest of the school naming, with the media here and people that might have other public comment, if we should move that up to the front of the queue or if we should leave 3.05 in place.
Does anybody have any particular feelings about that? No opposition to that?
No opposition. Just want to make sure that people aren't following this and thinking they can come a little bit later.
I had that same concern.
I mean, I'm mindful. I think that would be a great idea, and maybe we can look at that in the future. But I just would hate to miss someone because they thought they had a little bit more time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll hold off on that. Okay. Thank you. Then we'll move on to item 3.01, which is discussion and possible action to provide preliminary approval to the proposed revision of Board Policy 3321, bids, quotations, and contracts, which updates language related to the contract review process and initiate the 13-day public comment period. Ms. Sullivan is here on behalf of staff. Thank you.
Hi there. For the record, my name is Andrea Sullivan. I am the Director of Procurement and Contracts for the school district. This policy was brought to the Board Policy Committee meeting on March 5th. We are only making a few minor changes to the policy as it stands. Under the governing practices section, B was added, which requires the superintendent to create any procedures necessary to implement this policy. We have revised the administrative regulation, and it has completed now its public review and will be posted. So that's been done. It also requires that as part of that it addresses authorization to seek bids and quotations on behalf of the district, so that policy does address that. It also addresses the governing statutes for bids and quotations, which is NRS 332 and 338, and signatory authority for contracts within the district. So those are all addressed in the administrative regulation that is going to be posting here soon. It also adds language that the purchasing department will review all contracts as to form. This is the current practice of the district, and so we decided to not just have it in the regulation, but to also have it in policy, so it was known that purchasing department does review all contracts prior to sending it to legal. I work very closely with the Office of the General Counsel, and we work to negotiate good terms and conditions for the end users, and also the legal, just looking at all the terms and conditions, term and termination and that sort of thing, liability. And we get that in the best shape possible that we can get it in before we send it on to legal. So this just reflects what current practice is. And so that language has been added. The one change that was made as a result of the Board Policy Committee is reflected now in the policy that's been attached. It did say that legal would review it as to legal sufficiency, and there was some discussion at Board Policy about that, and that has been changed to that they will review it as to form. The only other change that was made in there was just clarifying when we seek board approval to make it consistent with all of our other processes and procedures. It had said contracts in excess of $100,000. Now it says $100,000 or more. So it's just kind of a slight clarification there so that it's consistent through the documents. So with that, I'll turn it over for any questions.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Sullivan? Okay, and I know, General Counsel, you had weighed in on this, and you're satisfied?
I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion then. Vice President Raymond? Oh, Trustee Mayor, you have to turn your mic on.
Get called on. I move to approve agenda item 3.01 as outlined by staff.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second by Vice President Raymond. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Ms. Sullivan. Item 3.02 is discussion and possible action to provide preliminary approval to the proposed revision of Board Policy 5200, formerly 5036.1, Family Engagement, which updates language as recommended by the Nevada Department of Education and initiate the 13-day public comment period. And presenters, we have Mr. Michael Doring and Lisa Crane. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, board members, superintendent. For the record, Mike Doring, Executive Director, Student Services. I'm here with Delisa Crane, who's our administrator over Family School Partnerships. Delisa is going to walk you through the changes that we've made to this policy, a couple of minor changes that we presented at the Board Policy Review Committee. I'll turn it over to Delisa.
For the record, Delisa Crane, Administrator with the Department of Family School Partnerships. Based on last week's feedback, we just updated a few items. So Trustee Taylor asked us to look at proficiency versus competency under Section 7, Roman numeral small, Roman numeral 7. I did check with our Equity and Diversity Department, and competency is what Ms. Young recommended, so we changed that. And then based on Trustee Raymond's feedback, also check with the State Department of Ed, and indeed we're moving towards family engagement and away from parent involvement, so we've made a few changes to the term parent to be more inclusive, and it's listed as family.
Great. Okay, good. Any other discussion or questions for Ms. Crane or Mr. Doring? Dr. Taylor?
Oh, I'm just ready to make a motion, Madam
Okay,
President. when
you
you're
go
ready to
right
receive
on
it.
ahead.
I move that, let's see. I move that the Board of Trustees provides preliminary approval to the proposed revision of Board Policy 5200, family engagement, and initiates a 13-day public comment period.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Second by Trustee Dr. Feemster. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3.03, discussion and possible action to provide preliminary approval to the proposed revision of Board Policy 1140, distribution and display of information and materials to students and staff, which includes language prohibiting such distribution by organizations, entities outside the Washoe County School District, and initiate the 13-day public comment period. David Lasik, Chief of Staff, please go ahead. You might want to turn off the other microphone just in case. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. David Lasik, Chief of Staff for the record. I'm handling this one on behalf of Irene Payne, who is out this week. So this policy was brought to the Board Policy Committee last week, and there are a couple of changes as a result of the meeting that are underlined. And they start on page 1, really clarifying language and making it consistent around district sanctioned and sponsored activities. And then there's an addition on page 2 under items 1 and 2. So again, school sanctioned, district sanctioned, sponsored activities. And adding in at the discussion materials approved by the principal. So we wanted to add that in. That was discussion, and just make sure that that was specifically clear in the policy. Other than that, there are no changes from the policy committee.
Okay. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Lasik? I appreciate those changes. That helps. Okay. Okay. Is anyone prepared to make a motion? Thank you, Vice President. Boy, this is, woo, man, she's stepping up today. See, I let her take over the meeting last week, and yeah, there we go. There you go.
Into my head.
The genie is out of the bottle.
The Board of Trustees, I move that the Board of Trustees provides preliminary approval of the proposed revision of Board Policy 1140, distribution and display of information and materials to students and staff, and initiates the 13-day public comment period.
All right, motion by Vice President Raymond, second by Trustee Dr. Taylor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 3.04, discussion possible action to provide preliminary approval to the proposed revision of Board Policy 7610, public information and public records requests, which includes language related to costs and fees associated with such requests, and initiate the 13-day public comment period. Mr. Rombardo, our Chief General Counsel, is here. Thank you, Mr. Rombardo. You have the floor.
Members of the board, this is Board Policy 7610, which we discussed at the Board Policy meeting last week. We took this back, and thanks for doing that. So this is going to codify how we in the district are going to handle public records requests. For us in our office, this is really important since we manage it through one person with 42 or 62 other job duties, so this kind of gives us some guiding principles on how to manage that situation. Nothing's changed since board policy. I don't know if you want me to touch on any highlights or not, but if you don't, I feel good about it.
Why don't you go ahead, just so the public record is made.
Sure, yeah. So basically, some of the new things that we're doing is we're going to add some cost and fees in since the last time it was considered. As a general rule, the district doesn't charge fees for standard public records requests. That's part of our goal of being transparent, which, as you all know, I've worked at many public entities, and I think that's great, and we didn't charge at those entities either. However, what we did codify is extraordinary use fees. And so an extraordinary use is if the public records request is going to take us more than 2 hours to gather the information, that's extraordinary, and we will charge the requester for that. We chose the 2-hour time frame by doing a lot of research. We ended up finding something at the Nevada Library and Archives who weighs in on this topic a lot, and they suggested that anywhere from, depending on the size of your agency and how many people you have handling the situation being public records, They suggested as little as 1 up to 4 hours. So we felt 2 hours was appropriate for us since we do have one person who manages the situation in our office or public records request. So we defined that in section C. And then we also cleaned up some other language that, because it was originally drafted as public information and records request, and we worked with board services, in particular Lisa Scurry and Chief of Staff Lasik, who were both great, and thank you both, to make this public records request specific and take out the public information part. And in doing so, we felt like this was a good change for us. So we cleaned up some of the language that was left in there for public information. It's not to suggest that wasn't important, but it's also found in other policies. So we took paragraph G out. You'll see some cleanup after paragraph C on page 3. So a lot of those changes are just minor, and like I said, I call them cleanup. We had definitions that were inconsistent, so we took those out and made sure that it was really follows the Nevada Public Records Act, which is found in NRS 239. So is that a good enough record?
That's good.
Okay.
That's good. And we have public comment, JJ?
John Eppolito.
My name is John Eppolito. You know, I missed the beginning part of the presentation, I'm sorry, but anytime attorneys change things, I get nervous. And I also worry if this lessens the transparency. I know that you guys are always talking about being transparent. Well, if you're making it harder for parents to get records, I know this could affect me because, for example, on what I was talking about earlier, these secret tabs in Infinite Campus are discipline, minor discipline, counseling, and multi-tiered system of support. So I have 5 or 6 questions. I don't know if I'm going to be charged to get answers to these. Usually the attorney just ignores me unless he has to answer me. So I don't know what this is even necessary for. It must be other people are doing different things. My questions are, why are these tabs hidden from parents? Why isn't the data ever deleted? Why aren't parents notified these secret tabs even exist? Since the tabs are hidden, why aren't parents invited to come in and view what's stored in their child's secret tabs? It's stored there forever. And do you think most parents would approve of the district paying a third-party vendor to do this, to collect, store secret, subjective, and discipline data on their children forever? So I don't know if there's a charge to get those answers. I don't know if we'll ever get them, but I will email them to you guys, and maybe you'll answer them. Maybe I'll get a bill from Mr. Lombardo. I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Eppolito.
That's all I have at this time.
Thank you, JJ. Do we have any further discussion?
May I weigh in on
sir.
the, just to be clear, this is public records request and NRS 239.010. Subsection A specifically, or sub 1A specifically says that student records do not fall under Public Records Acts because they're FERPA protected. So that this does not make anything more difficult for parents, and I just think that's important to point out. This is oftentimes, more often than not, press requests. Sometimes litigators will use it in litigation matters to gather information as well against the district, or not against, for their case, let me put it that way. So I want to be very clear, there is no intent, and this does not make it any more difficult for parents. So I just think that's really important.
Thank you. Thanks for that clarification. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Lombardo or any further discussion? Is our motion machine ready to make a motion over there?
Scott,
you
he's
had
going
your,
in.
okay.
Oh, sorry.
Trustee Kelly?
Yes, I'll make a motion on this one. I move that the school board provide preliminary approval to the proposed revision of Board Policy 7610, Public Information and Records Request, which includes language related to cost and fees associated with such request, and initiate the 13-day public comment period.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a second? All right. Motion by Trustee Kelly, second by Trustee Dr. Feemster. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. Item 3.05, presentation. So we didn't take too long to get there, Trustee Kelly. Presentation, discussion, and possible action to select the official name of the new middle school in the Sun Valley area from among the following as recommended by the school naming committee: Desert Skies, Michael Lansbury, and Sun Valley. And here on behalf of staff is Riley Sutton, our school capital needs public relations specialist and person who does all things new construction.
Yeah, that title's a mouthful, isn't it? Thank you, Board President Holland and Board of Trustees. Riley Sutton again for the record. I am unfortunately the only one here today due to a couple of unforeseen family and personal circumstances with our Chief Communications and Community Engagement Officer and the Chairman of the School Naming Committee. Both send their regrets that they were unable to attend, but again, just personal family obligations. I am going to just jump right in with this in terms of naming the new middle school in Sun Valley. We've been over this before, so I'm going to go pretty quick unless there are specific questions. The community suggests all of the names. Those are the only ones that are considered. The school naming committee, a group of citizens and one district staffer, pick the finalists over the course of 2 meetings, and then you fine folks pick the final name. For this particular school, we began on November 15th, soliciting the names. On December 6th, at the committee's regular meeting, they narrowed the submissions down to 8 semifinalists, and then in the February meeting picked the 3 finalists. This is after a lot of outreach that we did to try to solicit feedback both on getting the naming submissions and then for the community to vote on their favorite of those semifinalists that were picked. You can see those numbers on the screen there. The 3 finalists, as you see in your packets, are Desert Skies, Sun Valley, and Michael Lansbury. Per the committee's ranking, the order of those in terms of the total points, so the name that they liked the best was Desert Skies, followed very closely by Sun Valley, and Michael Lansbury in 3rd. Now, what I'll talk about there for a moment is just kind of the process, because this has come from the previous board discussion on the recently named Sky Ranch Middle School, and then that video of the board's discussion I specifically pointed the school naming committee to and talked with them about at their committee meeting regarding some of the questions and the concerns and ideas that board members brought up. And the flavor of the school naming committee was that they, in and of themselves, were perhaps not quite comfortable with Michael Lansbury being chosen at this time. We heard testimony or discussion by Catherine Loudon, who also, as a 3rd person who was meant to be here today but also had a family obligation come up. She passed along the attachment that is also in your packet regarding the memorials and issues surrounding that, and we had a full discussion at the school naming committee. At the end of the day, they felt like they needed to send Michael Lansbury's name forward as a finalist because it is in part their job, as they see it, to represent the community and the names that have been put forward and what the community at large, or at least a good section of people, are interested in. But they also took very deeply to heart the board's discussion and what Ms. Loudon had to say about the sensitivity of and the timing of naming a school after someone who was killed so tragically. There were a number of other discussion points that the committee brought up in terms of things, best practices mentioned in that memorials guide that is again part of your board packet, on reaching out to more members of the community, doing perhaps some focus groups or some teacher group, staff group sort of discussions with Sparks Middle School students, staff, families of Mr. Reyes, who also lost his life that day and has family that works in the district. And we have not been able to, nor are we certain necessarily that it is the committee's purview or staff's purview without direction from the board to go down that road. It is a bigger effort and opens a bigger thing for us all to do. For example, should we do something like that for Mr. Lansbury and with the Sparks Middle School community, we need to treat all naming submissions and all finalists or semifinalists the same. And I'll point you to another one who has come up as a finalist of former Officer Bohatch, who also killed in the line of duty, would fall under those same memorial guidelines. And again, the committee wasn't quite comfortable then putting forward Mr. Lansbury as a finalist, just based on needing a little bit more direction from the board about how you might like to handle issues related to that. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions before we have public comment? Dr. Feemster?
Yes, Oh, okay. Thank you. Were we able to get in touch with any more family members from Mr. Lansbury's family, like his wife?
Yes, thank you for asking. Also, hopefully included in your board packet is correspondence through Mrs. Lansbury's attorney that mentioned that she would be more than happy to see a school named after Mr. Lansbury, and also email correspondence from his brother to the same effect. So the family is very much on board with the name. It's, I think, more a question of, in the committee's mind at least, are we doing more harm, or really any harm at this point? Are there folks that would see the name in front of the school and they may not be comfortable coming up to give public comment to say that it's too soon, or that would cause them pain, or that would hurt in some way? And I think we can all respect that would be a very hard thing to come up and say in public comments. We have heard some of those feelings expressed anecdotally to different community members, and folks mentioned that folks that they had talked to in the community, they had heard some of that from people, but again, nobody who felt comfortable putting that individually and personally on the record for themselves.
Any other questions? Yes, Dr. Feemster.
So you said through her attorney?
Yes, that was the only way I was able to reach Mrs. Lansbury. There was an issue. The phone number, the most recent phone number that we had for her, we called a number of times, but the outgoing message did not identify it as her phone, and this seemed like a very difficult message to leave on an answering machine that I wasn't certain was her phone. So I did, after the board meeting, the previous board meeting where the Sky Ranch Middle School name was picked, I had the idea to reach out to her attorney and see if she could relay the message and get word back for Mrs. Lansbury that way, and that did bear fruit in the correspondence that you see as part of the board packet.
And she knew the name was coming up tonight?
I believe so. I can't speak to the specifics of what her attorney may or may not have said, if she knew exactly when that meeting was coming, but she did know the name was coming up for consideration.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions before we have public comment? Okay, Ms. Batchelder?
Pablo Nova Duran.
Welcome back, Mr. Duran.
Thank you. It's Pablo Navaduan. Okay, so I heard talk about Michael Lansbury, and then talk about do you remember middle school in Spanish Green, you pick Skyway Middle School? I think a new middle school in Sun Valley sure had geographic location. I think Sun Valley Middle School should be a good one because again, they have their own town. Sky to Sky, batch options. If picks, my recommended is name the new middle school Sun Valley as a Sun Valley Middle School. Maybe in future in Wild Creek High School, name Delta Sky High School. And in a new middle school in Spanish Street named Michael Lansbury Elementary School. He was a Spark Middle School. And Spanish Street was part of Spark, Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duran.
That's all I have.
Really? Okay. Mr. Mayor?
I'm ready to make a motion. I move the Board of Trustees select Desert Skies as the official name of the new middle school in Sun Valley area because it's such a really unique name. The school's being built up on a hill over the whole area, and it really fits the region. We have desert skies in this region, region. And it came out first in the balloting of the committee, and I feel that if a committee does work, you don't ignore the committee. And so the committee voted for this one as number one. So I feel this would be a good motion for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a second?
I second.
Oh.
Go ahead, Dr. Feimster.
All right. Dr. Taylor, I think you beat her to it. Okay, is there further discussion? Okay, well, I also, on behalf of the board, want to thank the committee for their very difficult work. I know it's they have spent many hours working on this, looking at various submissions and reviewing all the material. Riley, I know you and the team have also spent a lot of time on this, so thank you. These are big decisions. They will last for many generations.
That's right.
And so thank you, everyone, for the work. Yes, Dr. Taylor?
I just wanted to thank you, Madam President. Just concur during this discussion time with Trustee Mayor, in that it's hard to go against the recommendation of a committee unless there's a really good reason. Sometimes there's a really good reason, and I really don't have one in this case. And so I think it is important to support the work of the committees that we've put in place in those kinds of instances. So that's why they'll be getting my support for this motion.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you, Riley.
Well, if we have the new principal of Desert Skies Middle School is in the audience, Miss Peterson, that's done a magnificent, she's done a magnificent job at Dilworth. I hate to see her leave, but what a name for Miss Peterson to start a new curriculum and a new school.
I can see the mural now.
You bet, you bet.
We'll have to start working on finding a muralist among the high schoolers.
And congratulations on your appointment, and I hope you enjoy the new.
Thank you, and congratulations, Ms. Peterson. Thank you, Riley. Okay, we'll move on to 3.06, approval of the guaranteed maximum price. We have big work on the agenda today. Guaranteed maximum price number 2 from Core Construction Services of Nevada, Inc., Core, as the construction manager at risk for the construction of the building and balance of site improvements at the Spanish Springs Area Middle School, Sky Ranch Middle School, in the amount of $58,503,211 with an owner's contingency of $1,523,456 for a total of $60,026,667, and for the construction and balance of site improvements at the Sun Valley Area Middle School site in the amount of $59,106,051 with an owner's contingency of $1,540,241 for a total of $60,646,292. David, have you added up how much money we are investing in the community on this agenda? And with us today, Ms. Sullivan, Director of Procurement and Contracts, and Tony McMillan, Director of Construction and Project Management. Welcome, Andrea and Tony.
Hi, thank you very much, President Simon and Board of Trustees and Superintendent Davis. This is a very exciting day for us. And I'm happy to say that we get to do this here on Joe Gapika's last board meeting with us, that he'll get to actually see this project awarded, I hope. But it's a very exciting time for us, and so thank you for having us. I do want to mention that several representatives of CORE are in the audience. Should you have any questions of them, they'll be happy to answer any. As you may recall, this board awarded the GMP 1 for the middle schools, which was the mass grading projects, and we got those started as we were finishing the design for the actual building. So Tony's going to go through here in a minute with you and kind of give you an update on where we are with those projects as well. And then he'll kind of dive into what's included in GMP 2, which is the remainder of this project. And then I'll talk about sort of all of the competition that goes into awarding the subcontractors in this, from pre-qualification all the way through subcontractor selection, and we'll dive into a little bit of what the GMP actually consists of.
Okay, Tony McMillan, Director of Construction, Washoe County School District. First off, we start with Sky Ranch Middle School. GMP 1 was the mass grading the major earthwork for both sites. And right now at Sky Ranch, building pad is complete. We are doing some cleanup stuff around the site, the remaining site, and that in preparation for beginning the next phase of construction. When we go to the next slide, we have this is just progress photos available online. If you guys want to see them any day, there's a link available.
Tony, quick question. Did we have any days that we weren't able to work due to weather?
Yes, we did. And we take those into account in the contract.
I remember.
There's certain days in the contract.
We were worried about the limitation after last winter.
We did have a good winter for the most part. We're dealing more with weather in the last few weeks, but we were far enough along. We got a lot of good production.
Great.
So we don't anticipate any delays at this point.
Good. We lucked out.
Sun Valley, or now Desert Skies, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
Sun Valley Middle School, larger site, a little more work with GMP1. Building pad there is just about done, probably a few more days, weather pending. We'll be ready to go with GMP2. There is a lot of retaining wall, and other site work that is happening at Sun Valley, so that will delay the completion of GMP1 until April. It doesn't hinder the schedule of GMP2. So we do have another quick video of that.
That's great.
You can see the snow.
Oh.
We keep working.
Great.
GMP2 scope of work. Like we said, mainly GMP1 was mass grading earthwork. GMP2 is really everything else. Underground utilities, footings, concrete slab, building, landscaping, paving, road work, technology, fixtures, furnishings, and equipment. We like calling that FF&E, everything that the district has to purchase and load to be ready for the start of school. That is really what comprises GMP2.
Very exciting.
Okay, so we want to just walk through this process a little because we want you and the public to know about the competitiveness of the bids that happened during this process. So the very first thing that has to happen is the pre-qualification of subcontractors. That process is prescribed in detail in statute in NRS 338. As part of their pre-qualification process, you may remember, in fact, I think some of you were even there, Corps held a subcontractor fair on November 29th. It was very well attended, so their outreach worked very well. The potential subcontractors got to hear a presentation from Corps. They got to hear what the project would entail, what the construction milestones were. And then they also got to take a walk of DePauli Middle School to see essentially what they would be building. I mean, there's definitely some changes to the recent design, but they're essentially the same. And through this process, in total, Corps pre-qualified 676 total subcontractors across 45 trades. Now, we know this is a tough environment for contractors right now, but it was really exciting to see we have that many pre-qualified. And then, as you'll see a little bit later, we did have really good competition. So we think this process that they employed brought real value to the project and made it very competitive. So all of their scopes are publicly advertised and competitively awarded. So not only was the CMAR selected through a competitive solicitation, but then the CMAR goes out and competitively bids all of the scopes. So the bids went out January 3rd, and they were out for about 4 weeks. There was a lot of interest generated, and you could tell that by the fact that we got 173 what we call requests for information. Generally questions because they're going through all the plans and the scopes, and potential subcontractors are asking questions. And as a result of that, Corps did issue 4 addenda to the bid packages.
Can you tell us a little bit about what those addenda included?
I'll answer that one.
I think pretty much everything. I might have to defer to Corps, but typical questions, there's a lot of detailed structure questions, how things are built versus how they're shown on the drawings, and it's really subcontractors trying to put in their mind and figure out what it's going to take to actually build this job. If they don't have enough detail on a plan, then they ask those questions and we answer. But it's really across all trades, across everything. Yeah, you get them.
And those
from
are
everywhere.
publicly provided as well. The addenda are publicly
Yeah, to all
distributed,
bidders.
so
Yep,
everyone gets
absolutely.
to see all the same
So
competitive
they are provided to
information.
all pre-qualified subs, so
Great.
the whole group of pre-qualified subs.
Okay.
I think what was really exciting is that we saw most trades having multiple proposals. We received 7 on landscaping alone, which I thought was really exciting given the current environment. Then we have, these are the major ones, but roofing, flooring, painting, plumbing, earthwork all received 5 each, and then HVAC, electrical, metal panel siding, and drywall all received 4 each, which was really exciting to see because it's a hard environment right now, and not all subcontractors can handle a job of this size. So we were really, really pleased with the turnout of that. So in total, we received 146 proposals across the 45 trades per school. So that's the kind of coverage that they got with their outreach. The proposals were opened on January 31st. District staff was present for that. And then the very next day, they began holding interviews with many of those subcontractors who submitted proposals. And the idea behind that is to sit and interview and make sure that they saw everything in the plans that we intended for them to see, that they didn't miss anything, that there weren't any holes in their bids, so that CORE could feel comfortable when recommending the subcontractors to the district that they had a complete scope of work and we wouldn't be surprised down the road. It's one of the values that this process brings. They invited us to sit in on those interviews, and there was a district representative, at least one in all of these. This allows us a couple of things. One, to make sure that they in fact are compliant with NRS, that they are following our processes and procedures and anything that was in the document that they needed to follow in the CMAR document. And it makes sure that they're following our policies so that we feel good coming here to tell you that we recommend award. After all of those occur, they submit to us their 1% subcontractor list as required by law. So any subcontractor whose work is 1% or more of the total value, they have to submit that list to us within 10 days of opening the bid. So we receive that, and then they will present us their draft GMP, and we go through all of that with a fine-tooth comb. Tony and I really dig into those numbers. And the reason we do is this: we do not pretend to involve ourselves in their selection of subcontractors because by statute they get to do that. But what we do and what our role is to ensure that what they're proposing brings best value to the district. So, for example, if CORE wanted to go with the highest bidder on every trade, Tony and I would look at that and say, we could probably go out and hard bid this and do a better job. And so we might then recommend, in fact, I would recommend that's what we would do. But by participating in the interviews, we get to hear sort of what everybody has included and not included in their scope. We feel good about the scope that they've provided, and then we dig into all the numbers to make sure we feel that they're providing the best value. And what I can tell you is we wouldn't be here today asking you to approve this if we didn't feel like this was a really solid GMP. We would instead make a different recommendation. So the guaranteed maximum price includes the cost of construction for all the trades. It also includes a contractor contingency, and that's set at just 2%, is what we've held them to. It also includes some owner allowances for some things that need to be done. We have our owner contingency as part of this item, but separate from their actual GMP. So that's our money that we decide if we want to use it. It includes their CMAR fee, which they proposed when they were competing to be selected as the CMAR, and that had to stay the same. And as you all know, we affix 20% of the overall weight to that criteria and when we're selecting a CMAR, which is the maximum amount we're allowed to by statute. So we do think that's an important part. And as it turns out, the lowest responsive bidder was determined to be qualified and was selected on each trade by CORE.
That's great.
So, you know, after they vetted through all the subcontractors and made sure that any holes had been filled, or if they had a hole, then they were no longer responsive, lucky for us, they're actually recommending the lowest responsive bidder. So that was really nice to see, and we still feel like we have a really good group of subcontractors, so we don't feel like we've sacrificed on the quality side with selecting the low bid. So
just to summarize, you've had 146 proposals across 45 trades that were sealed bids that were competitively awarded, and in every single case, on every trade, the lowest bidder was lowest responsive bidder was selected for this project. So just for the members of the public who are concerned that these projects are not being carefully managed, they absolutely are, and they're being managed with low bidders, low responsive bidders, using, I'm assuming, mostly local
I will talk about that, but yes, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, that's great.
So part of this risk management, we've made a huge investment on the front end, right? The CMAR solicitation is a much longer solicitation than a hard bid would be. Our design team, which includes the CMAR, the architects, and the owner, meet every single week to go over the design, how it's progressing, estimating what the cost will be all along. Make a huge investment on the front end because we really feel like on these specialized projects that it really pays off with a good product in the end, and it mitigates a lot of risk. Another thing that this process brings to us is really high quality documents, and that means from the design, because the contractor is involved from the very beginning about constructability. They can estimate if we're getting over budget, they can start value engineering together, and it also provides a really solid bid document for them to put out because they've been involved the whole time. They're very familiar with the scopes. They can write really detailed scopes because of their participation, and so the quality of documents produced have been very high. We have come overall under the estimate, which is great news. There has been some worry because of how busy all of the contractors and subcontractors are. And we think there's really two major reasons that this has happened. One is the seasonal timing of our bid. This was really the first major public works project bid in 2018. Right. And so contractors and subcontractors were able to bid on this and secure work for 2018 and into 2019, which is good for them. They were eager to do it. It was super good for us to be out ahead of the game on some of these other big public works projects that we'll be bidding soon. So that's one of the main reasons. And then the other one that we've talked about is participation and competition. And if you go back to when Cumming LLC was here presenting to you about the escalation costs of construction, the number one thing he said that would hold that number, or where you could really keep the numbers from getting too high, was to employ a lot of competition. And so Corps was very successful in employing competition on this, and so between the timing of the bid and the participation and the outreach, they've been able to deliver. And each scope, on average, came in about 10% under what the estimate was. So we're really excited for that.
Fantastic news.
And this is the first construction GMP for an entire building that's being awarded since the passage of WC1, and it's garnered a lot of support from our taxpayers, obviously, who voted to have WC1 passed, local agencies, local subcontractors, and it's really exciting to see us make this investment in our students. So just a few little highlights. One, like we said, each school is under the allocated budget. This is not the only work that has to be done. There's still more work that has to be done. We have to put in some traffic lights and some roads and things that will be bid separately. But we're under our budget right now, which we're excited about. The recommended GMPs include 91% local subcontractors. That is based on the dollars. So of all the dollars being awarded, across all of the trades, 91% of the dollars were awarded to local.
And that's $120 million of investment in the local community.
That's right.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And that number gets bigger, so that if we were to take out trades where we didn't have a local bidder, because sometimes we didn't have local bidders, bleachers and gym floors, things like that, restaurant equipment, we didn't get local bidders. We don't have a lot in this community that can do that work. So when you take those out, then the number gets much bigger. So I think it's really exciting that we're supporting our local community in this way. And then, the other thing I wanted to tell you is when we look at the 1% list, there were 17 trades that made the 1% list. Of those, 15 went to local subcontractors. And one of the two that did not go local was because there were no local bidders. And so when you take that out, now you're looking at 15 out of 16 trades going to local bidder. So that's really exciting.
Yes, Trustee Taylor.
Andrea, what's the 1% list?
So by statute, they have to provide us a list of the subcontractors that they're selecting that meet whose value is 1% of the overall construction project or more. So they have to provide that within 10 days of opening the bids for us. And so it's the biggest dollars of the project. So all of the rest of the contracts will fall under the 1% list. And then lastly, for me anyway, is that each of these GMPs alone separately constitute the largest contract awarded by the school district ever, and we're awarding 2. So.
Taking no prisoners.
Just a brief look at the schedule. I wish all our construction schedules were 5 items, but
Tony.
In short, really, we go through major foundations. We work around the building from, if you're familiar with DePoli, there's really 5 buildings there that are put together, and so we work around in sequence. The sequences aren't the same. That's really contractor option, what's best. But what we're looking at is major foundations and slabs being complete in September, the main structure for the entire building being complete in December, enclosure and dry-in, which is, roof and windows and the exterior walls and dry-in. We're targeting February next year, and then obviously working to completion for start of school in August.
Wow.
So recommendation, we are recommending purchasing in capital projects, recommending to core construction for Spanish Springs Middle School, a GMP in the amount of $58,503,211 with an owner's contingency of $1,523,456 and a total cost of $60,026,667. We're recommending Sun Valley Middle School, GMP $59,106,051, owner's contingency of $1,540,241, and a total cost Sun Valley, Desert Skies, $60,646,292.
Great. And is the owner's contingency, is that a percentage or is that a detailed?
3%.
Okay.
It's a straight percentage.
Okay. Okay. Would anyone from CORE like to make any comments? We'd certainly invite those folks to come up. Mr. Mayor?
Yes. I want to commend both departments for working really closely on this together. And I just think this is so great because the taxes that we paid, increase in the taxes, are going into the community, and it's a dribble down effect. The little corner bar is going to get some of this taxpayers' money. The tire repair is going to get some. The doctors, everybody's going to benefit by us spending our money locally. But one thing does bother me. I think Joe doesn't realize that we avoided his retirement papers. So this isn't his last board meeting.
Well, I'm certainly on board with that myself. So.
Perfect. This is Jason Dondero with Core Construction. I just want to personally reach out and thank all of you for making this opportunity happen. It's been a pleasure on this, and it's going to continue to be a pleasure on this project. Working here with the district capital projects and purchasing has been a fantastic effort between both parties and all other design partners as well. It's truly been an extraordinary process. We look forward to continuing this throughout the project, and we thank you again. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, team. And I also want to echo Trustee Mayer's comments. I know we're all so grateful for all of the tremendous commitment and dedication to the job that this takes, the hours and hours and hours that you all of you have spent on these projects. And I think the public should be, the public is very well served, not only because these projects have come in below estimates, but also because of the competition. As Mr. Mayor said, the infusion of capital into our economy. But I'm just so proud of the attention to detail that we are seeing, and the competitiveness, the transparency, the public nature of all of this. I know our critics will be hopefully silenced by a lot of the great work that you all have done. So thank you. Superintendent, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I wanted to thank the staff also. They are just wonderful in answering questions before we even get to this point. And Jason, I want to thank you. I don't know if people even remember, your daughter walked me in at Cold Springs last week, and she is on the kindness crew. But just the whole connection and how excited she was. So we know that you have a vested interest in all our children. So we want to thank CORE for that, and a shout out to your daughter too. But this has been wonderful. This is our big major thing. And as you said, Trustee Simon, how much money? I want you to know that David sent me a text and said $130 million to share that out loud.
Just for these two, though?
Right, yeah.
Oh, no, for everything?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So
wow. $130 million
that.
invested in our economy on this agenda. Yeah.
Wow.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes, I just wanted to ask the 646 subs that were involved in this, so do they get to stay involved because they've qualified through CORE, or is it was just specific to this project, Jason?
It was just specific to this project.
Okay. I think they got 646 subs because Veronica and I, as I recall, did a little talk at that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a little talk, so I think that encouraged some people.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Any other questions or comments? We are just so grateful and so proud, and I know generations of students and educators and school staff at Desert Skies and Sky Ranch will be so grateful for what you all have done. So thank you. Dr. Taylor is ready. Oh man, see how she is, Melina. You gotta,
No,
yeah.
I will gladly step aside.
No. Go ahead, Dr. Taylor.
Not to you. I move that the Board of Trustees approves the guaranteed maximum price, or the GMP, number 2, from CORE Construction Services of Nevada, Inc., as a construction manager at risk, or CMAR, for the construction of the building and balance of site improvements at the Spanish Springs area middle school site, also known as Sky Ranch Middle School, in the amount of $58,503,211, with an owner's contingency of $1,523,456 for a total of $60,026,667, and for the construction and balance of site improvements at the Sun Valley Area Middle School, most recently now known as Desert Skies, in the amount of $59,106,051, with an owner's contingency of $1,540,641 for $241 for a total of $60,646,292.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Mayor. Is there any further discussion? Do we have any public comment, JJ? Okay, well, I will, with great honor and pleasure, call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, staff and CORE. Thank you. Outstanding. Okay, I see we have a student here from North Valleys High School. Did you? Is he going to say something?
Hi, Tyler. No, I'm just here to watch.
Okay, you're very famous, in the video of our student demonstrations tomorrow. So you did a great job, Tyler. Very nice. Okay, I assume you all want to just go on and do board reports and not take a break? Okay, we'll just go ahead. Okay, I'll start with Vice President Raymond.
Thank you, Madam President. I will just highlight a few things. Last week 2 weeks ago, I was invited to attend the brown bag lunch in Mr. Aaron Grossman's classroom at Roy Gaum Elementary School. This is a monthly lunch he holds for parents of his students to come and and he almost does a little lesson for them on kind of what the kids are learning in the classroom, but then how parents can further that learning at home and out in the community. His example the day I was there was about informational texts and reading comprehension for students, and he gave some great ideas that I even will be using with my daughter about how to encourage the reading of informational texts in a fun way. So it was great to be invited to that, and just a really wonderful example of how to engage families, not just in the school culture, but in what is happening in the classroom and how, again, that can be expanded at home. So I was very honored to be able to be in the classroom, and just all the other stuff, Spotlight and the State of Ed, and a few school visits that I'm sure other people will touch on. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Vice President Raymond. Trustee Mayor, let's go to you.
All righty. It's been busy with middle school visitations with the superintendent, which were a delight always, but starting with the ROTC inspections. We've already done Galena, Spanish Springs, Reno, and McQueen.
And Sparks.
And Sparks, yes, I missed Sparks. I don't know why I missed Sparks, but
I heard you doing that as I was walking out too.
But these are terrific, and you know, if I were not connected with the schools, I'd go to one of these to see the caliber of students that we have. And you know, these people that sit back and say, oh, the future generation is not going to be good, they don't know what they're talking about, because these kids are outstanding. I mean, a couple of them, 5.25 grade point average, weighted grade point average, and they go into some of the finest schools around, including the finest one, Harvard by the River. In case anybody doesn't know what that is, that's UNR, Harvard by the River. So it was just a delight, and I'm so happy that things are falling in place for these schools. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Feemster.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I would like to, first of all, thank the superintendent for the wonderful State of the State address. I thought it was just absolutely outstanding. I love the way it was presented, because in the past we've always had boring, well, speeches, just solid speeches. And to get in there and jazz it up and make it part of the students, the ownership, you know, was just absolutely wonderful. Students were so proud. And I think it's also exciting to have it at a school where the principal can feel proud of his or her school, and the students and the families. So that was just, it was just so well done, and information was out. That's so important, to get that information out, and everyone is hearing the same thing. So, and I thought it was just so cute to have the pledge said in both English and in Spanish. I think that's so exciting. Again, another opportunity to get parents out. So you did an absolutely, whoever worked on that with you, congratulations to everyone involved in that. Also, Spotlight on Success was way out there in Cold Springs. But since that's my district, great opportunity for me. And again, students were so excited to be out there that evening. And actually, I recognized a few of my cheerleaders who cheered for me in the middle of the street when I was running for the seat. And they're excited about doing it again. So I think I'll use that same tactic because it worked. So again, that was just another opportunity to engage parents and have them at the school site. And Roberta, the principal, was just so excited to have us. She's been through a lot, and I think it really made a difference for her, because she's had a tough couple months. Let's see. Oh, I just wanted to say something really cute from my daughter. It was my birthday, and I went to Spotlight on Success. She said, oh, on my birthday, well, the next day I had to cook for the fire department. So I ended up cooking all night for a fire department. I don't even know what number, but they should thank me. I'm going to find out which department that was on behalf of my son. So it was a very busy week. I also filed for my seat, so that was exciting. And I do want to say that from my daughter. She said, Mom, you held down an entire school as you persevere, despite many times people were saying you really, that's a private part, I'll skip that. But she said I persevered, and I think that's so true about persevering. And she went on to say, many a times you would come home with kids, and I didn't even know who they were, but we were all family, and today those students are so proud of you, and so am I. So I thought that was great.
Nice. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor wants to add something. Microphone.
I attended some Big Sky Conference tournament games that were here, and community service kids from Sparks High School did a little game in between halftime, of both of the games, and I mean, those little guys. But I want to tell you, the heart of them. This one guy, this little girl, running down and back and forth, and this guy got the rebound, and they divided into teams, and he was on the opposite team as she was, and he got the rebound, and he gave it to her to shoot, and she missed, and he got the rebound, and he gave it to her again, and she shot, and she missed. He got the rebound. He gives it to her again. Boom, right in. And she went over and gave him the biggest bear hug I've ever seen. These are the same kids we saw at Sparks High at that time, and hugged them. And talk about your heart racing. I was so joyful, my heart just started beating, beat the band. And that's what our school district is all about. Here these guys come from Montana and everything, and I hear them talking around me. Oh, look at that. Oh, I wish they did it up in Montana. Oh, it's such a good thing, a good feeling, and it's contagious. And so I don't know the alternative PE teacher that organizes these things, but we should give him a kiddos that he's doing a great job to involve those kids that way. Thank you for letting me interrupt that.
You bet, you bet. Trustee Kelly.
Thanks, Madam President. Yeah, just to, I guess, echo on Spotlight and Success and the state of education. The way that we used to award and honor and recognize our staff and our students from my first term many years ago compared to the way that we do it now with the students involved and there's music and other things. I mean, I think it's just a fantastic way to do it. And then as for the state of education, I think this was my sixth or seventh state of education that I've been in. And again, this is the same thing. Back in the day, there used to be a lot of mostly speeches, but now again we involve the students. We have all these other things that are happening to make it the presentation of the material just more interesting and intriguing and exciting. So just kudos to the staff for organizing all that stuff and letting the trustees come and just have a good time and do our thing.
Great, thank you. Trustee Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam President. In addition to so many other things that we've gotten to enjoy together, someone mentioned about just family. Just, family, being a part of the family. You mentioned that with your daughter. That's one of the things that I got a chance to attend a couple of the ROTC inspections Reno High School and McQueen High School. And every time the kids talk, they always talk about how part of the reason why they joined ROTC was because it's like a family. And so it's really cool to think about. I got a chance to meet the new head of our ROTC programs, and I think he's going to be great. But just to hear that the way the kids, you know, some of them, I was talking to one girl, she said, oh, I could never be involved. I was so shy, and she was talking my head off, and she was walking, and in a good way, though, in a good way. And I said, I cannot believe you were shy. Oh, yeah. So it's just great to see those kids really come into their own, the leadership piece. It makes me wish more students got involved in JROTC, because we get a chance to see the good side of how they come out on the other side, I should say. Then the other thing I want to mention is the bullying conference. I attended the first 2 days. I didn't go the last day. That's when we had our work session, but it was really good. I learned a lot of great stuff, and I was really impressed with they had a lot of keynotes on that first day in particular. Our superintendent did the opening and did a great job, so thank you for that. And Monica Lewinsky was the first keynoter that I heard, and she was, it's going to sound bad when I say surprisingly good, and I don't mean it because I didn't have but I hadn't really looked at her situation and married it with bullying and what that was all about until she talked through it, and it's like, wow, I really got a chance to see that. So it just helped. That's one thing that was great about this conference, is seeing just a lot of the other ways that bullying is impacting students all across the country. So it made me proud that we had it here. Yeah, they really did. So great job for the district for pulling that in.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Well, I had the privilege of attending some of the JROTC program accreditations and really enjoyed Trustee Mayer letting me sit next to him. That was a lot of fun. And I also got to do some reading in Mrs. Haygood's second grade class at Jessie Beck, which was great fun. And I really appreciated the book that she had them read, had me read, had to do with whether this kid should step on an ant or not. And it's talking from the ant's perspective and the kid's perspective. And then following the reading of the story, the kids had to discuss and do a writing about should the kid step on the ant or not. And they had a great conversation about, well, maybe it's a red ant and that ant could hurt people. And I really appreciated the bringing of the social and emotional learning into a reading exercise, and really enjoyed that. So I thank you, Mrs. Haygood. And then I had a visit at Verdi Elementary School with Dr. Kehoe, the principal there, and at Lemon Valley Elementary School with Michael Lansing. And we had so many great experiences at the State of Education, but I do want to give a shout out to the Kindness Crew at Billinghurst. They were very inspiring. The things that those young people said, I am constantly amazed at, as Trustee Mayer said, the quality of the children, the character of our young people is just astonishing. So that was wonderful. I also wanted to share with board members, we received, as did Superintendent Davis, she got the real one, we received a copy from the chairman, Arlen Melendez, of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, tribal chairman. And this is the Indian colony in the state of Nevada entered into an agreement in November of 2012, and among other things, the colony agreed to share a portion of the revenues from its Walmart project on colony lands in Reno. Please find attached a check in the amount of $473,865.54, and we very much appreciate the Reno Sparks Indian Colony's support for the district. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. And again, I want to thank the staff, and thank you to you, Tyler. Thank you, Kristen, for the great video that the staff did on the student walkouts tomorrow. And I'm just very proud of our district, and I'm very proud of how the staff recommended that we deal with these very sensitive subjects, and encouraged our site administrators and our principals to use this as a wonderful example for education about civic participation and discussion about difficult issues. So I want to thank all of our site administrators and principals as well for the great work they're doing to help lift the discussion and elevate our civic discourse in our district. So thank you all for that. Yes, Dr. Taylor?
One thing I forgot is I got a chance I get to do school visits again, so I'm so excited. I can't believe I forgot. We did some together.
Yes, we did.
We did some together,
We did a bunch of them, yeah.
I visited quite a few, 5 schools over the past couple of weeks, and one of the things you mentioned how impressed you are with the students. I mean, and that goes without saying, but I really found myself, and maybe because I didn't get to visit last year because of my illness, but I was really impressed with our site administrators. Mm-hmm. They are so excited about their schools and what they're doing and their students and their staff. And one school we barely toured. Remember, because he was so excited
Yes.
and just wanted to share so much with us, and it made me say, well, we're blessed to have some really great people working with our kids.
That was at Clayton.
Yeah, yep, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
But it just reminded me when you said how impressed you were with the students. I was really impressed with our staff. So together, it's a pretty good place to be right now.
It is.
So
and
thank
I
you.
also want to add that Lieutenant Colonel Caldwell, who is the new JROTC leader for our district, has said at each one of the JROTC program accreditations how impressed he is with this district. And he tells the parents and the staff who are in attendance at the event that he said, you need to go other places and see how it is in other districts to appreciate what you have here in the Washoe County School District and the support that the JROTC program has, and just throughout the district, how much there is a dedication to building character and building future leaders. So that was really nice to hear from him as well. Okay, Superintendent.
Thank you. I want to start with, I couldn't believe that Trustee Ruggiero didn't announce that the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission received an award, a plaque at the bullying conference. Yes, so kudos to our board for establishing that commission. I think that when we look around Nevada, one of the things I got to say proudly yesterday with the governor was that we really were ahead of the game with this, and that our board had established the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission around bullying, healthy eating, school safety. So we are truly doing some amazing work. Had an opportunity to visit Gifford Standoff Systems, which is so funny because they make these little round things that connect lights and other fixtures around your house or walls or schools. But what was important about it is this is connected to our career technical education. And they are a partner with us. So one of the things that I'm also trying to do is once a month visit some of the businesses that we are partners with as it is related to career technical education. And what was great was that there were so many employees ranging from 18 to 50-something from schools all over, whether it was Hug or North Valleys or Galena, and they got to tell their stories. So it's pretty cool, that work that Dr. Dana Ryan is doing. As you know, I did meet with the governor along with the other 16 superintendents to have a robust conversation about school safety. He had an opportunity to learn about which individual districts were doing, and then he will be forming a commission, and we will be looking to how can we continue to improve on school safety. And one of the things that I love that he said about Nevada was, it's not that we're doing a bad job, we're actually doing a good job, but how do we continue to improve on school safety? Many of you talked about the kindness crew at Billingshurst. John and I got to really hang out with them for, there were like 40 in the library. There were a lot of kids, but what a great middle school thing that we do with the kindness. And so it's not just at Billingshurst. If you think at Cold Springs, they had a kindness crew. So kudos to our counseling department, our SEL department, and our equities and diversity. John failed to mention that we actually watched a Special Olympics basketball game at Cold Springs. And they played the students from Dilworth, which was trainer. What was so awesome was when they made the posters for their school, because only the Cold Spring kids were there, right? But they made posters for the trainer kids too, right? So in the stands, there were posters for the trainer. And they scored a lot of points. We were like tons of points. I think it's like 38 to like 40. There was a lot of points scored. Wow. But just the joy to see on the students' faces when they made a goal and how they were cheered on. So we had a great time there. And I want to give a shout out to school police. We have been super, super busy in the past 2-3 weeks, and the entire staff, because we have to have meetings on the fly around a lot of different things. And so to the leadership team, a big thank you. But thank you to school police. At the safety convention, Sergeant Redmond and Officer Palacios, did I say that right? When they came out with the color guard, like, I had no idea that our school police participated with our students in that, and it was just beautiful to see that engagement, not to be outdone by the chief of police and the deputy chief reading to first graders at Warner Elementary School. And I just think it speaks mounds about whether it's the academic side or operations side, like, we all care about kids. And so school police is out there making sure we're safe, but also engaging with our students in a variety of ways. And then I think I'm going to close with the state of ed. I really want to thank the communications department. It's like the one big thing they put on, but it is so hard because every time I have an idea, can we just add 10 more kids? Or like, how are we going to make this happen, right? And this year we were over the kid count by a lot. But they made it happen because the idea is that people should see what is happening in our district. So when we talk about CTE, there's an opportunity for them to taste and sample. When we talk about opportunities for bands, when we talk about students participating with student voice, when we talk about the pledge, it is a great way for people to see what is actually showcased, not because we tell them, but because it comes from the students and the students' voice. So I really want to thank the communications team for making all my dreams come true. Next year is going to go bigger. That's all I have.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Yes, Dr. Feimster.
Talk to me about the ants. What are your thoughts?
The ants?
Did you step?
I did not weigh in. I did not weigh in. And actually, the book ends with just the question. You know, should he step on the ant or shouldn't he? Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was great. Okay, thank you. We'll go on then to future agenda item requests. Does anybody have future agenda item requests? Yes, Trustee Kelly.
Thanks, Madam President. I have two. I was wondering if Catherine Loudon could perhaps then give us a presentation or report discussing the bullying conference and some of the things that came out of that, and then maybe sprinkling in some information about our bullying efforts here at the district, how many students are being bullied, what's the response time for staff action, and just all those kind of things. And then the second agenda item that I had was I'd like to know kind of how our school playgrounds are, like how they're funded, what's the order of how they're chosen to be replaced or fixed, what's the order at the different schools, kind of what's the state of the playgrounds at our schools.
Okay, great. I know David's taking copious notes. All right. Any other agenda item requests? Did you have something, Madam Superintendent?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay. And we need to call for public comment. Is there any final public comment? Okay. All right. Well, then we will stand adjourned.